there's a whole lead up to this, but I told him, I was like, you have to believe you are before you are. And I have a tattooed on my arm, no risk, no magic. I think, and people talk about having delusional self-belief, like truly, like if you have something that you want, you have a desire, you're reaching for something, just like all the old people in my town are like, he's selling t-shirts. I was ahead of the game, dude. You just didn't see it. But it's like, you have to believe you are before you are. Just even like with the sports stuff, So I think it's really important. If the thing that you're doing really matters to you, we've got to get you on your team. Because if you aren't on your team, it's going to be real hard to do everything else. So I think that's probably the most important thing, Drew, what you asked is like, if you think the thing you're doing is good, then you better believe in yourself enough to show up as the person that needs to deliver that and believe you are before you are, right? And that's how you show up. And
welcome to another episode of Whiskey is for Closers. This is the podcast where we sit down with bold founders who have built businesses from scratch and are now learning to scale beyond themselves. I'm Craig Johnson with Steve Caton and Drew Epperson from Alteza. And today we have got a healthy pour with Braxton Kilgo, the founder of a movement built on 4 simple words. I believe in you. Braxton is turning those 4 words into a billion-person movement. I Believe in You is a bracelet and app concept that tracks kindness as it travels around the world. And we're going to talk about building a movement, selling hope, and what it looks like to scale something that started with a few stickers and a school assembly. So if you've ever worn one of those inspirational bracelets or seen them maybe pop up on your social media feeds, you're about to hear the story behind the movement. So grab a glass, let's dive in. All right, guys, this is Whiskey is for Closers. What are we drinking today? Who wants to go first?
Drew, you go first, man.
Yeah, man. Okay, so I'm going to throw a wrench into this because today is not Whiskey is for Closers for Drew. Today is Moonshine is for Closers with Drew. All right? I made this in my bathtub, and I'm just kidding. I did not. But what I did,
That's definitely not something that wants to be drank.
It's like getting punched in your mouth, man. I'm just saying. But this stuff right here is Nashville. So I'm in Nashville, and this is a Nashville distillery, and I was just introduced to them this past weekend. This is their coffee version. Oh, my goodness. I'm just saying, great stuff. So that's what's on tap for me today.
I love it. I love it. Steve, I know you're throwing a wrench in things too. Do you want to go last or you want me to go?
You go.
Okay. So it's the beginning. It's our first episode of the new year, right? So I'm going with a staple. This is one of our favorites, Leaper's Fork.
Yes.
They're bourbon whiskey, right? So I had to go classic favorite, begin the new year off right. And I'm usually the one that does different stuff.
Yeah, no, it's my turn this time.
Not today. Yeah.
Hey, that's the second time that Leaper's Fork Bourbon has shown up on this podcast, and they still aren't sponsoring it.
Aren't sponsoring us. What the heck?
Come on, guys. You guys get in the car and go down there.
I'm on it today.
we can make that happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
So normally I have been the guy that's making fun of the people that show up without whiskey, but today it's me I'm drinking Trader Joe's winter tea. So kind of lame, but I'm not doing dry January. I'm not doing that, but I am doing a fast to kind of cleanse, coming out of the holidays. I think I stepped on the scale right after Christmas and I was like, oh no, that's not good. So I was like, I got to do a reset, man. I got to get back in shape. So this week, at least, I'm just skipping the alcohol. So Trader Joe's winter tea is pretty good.
Trader Joe's for the win.
Yeah. If it had whiskey in it, it'd be better.
Little do we know, did he pour some into his
shining, but this is a Trader Joe's sparkling water on my
there
desk
you go.
here.
We got Trader Joe's
Braxton
all over
too.
the place here. Holy cow. Maybe
That's
they should
what
sponsor
I was
the podcast.
drinking for all of my other calls. But since we're on whiskey for closers, I went with Knob Creek. I was actually probably gonna do like a Bullet or like Jameson Black Barrel, but I was gonna go do that today and buy it. But my girlfriend showed up at the house yesterday and she's like, "Don't you have that podcast that you got to drink whiskey on?" I was like, "Yeah,
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
perfect." So Knob Creek it is for me today.
That's awesome. Well,
It's a
guys,
solid pour.
cheers.
Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Friends.
Good to be here.
Braxton, I
Absolutely.
really liked how your girlfriend framed that. Isn't that the podcast you have to drink whiskey on? I mean, I feel
Totally.
like if anybody frames it that way, I'm in no matter what, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Steve, I don't know if there was a better place to tell you this. There probably was, but since we're recording and your friends will probably, your partners will enjoy this. So you met my girlfriend, Morgan. And every time I mention you, you know what she says to me? She remembers you and she knows about your business. She knows about the collabs, but you know what she brings up? She's like, "Oh, Steve, that's the guy that has really, really nice eyelashes." And I'm like, "Maybe?" I'm like, "I don't even know. I've way more than you. How do you know? How do you know he has nice eyelashes?" I'm like, I didn't even notice. But she said that 5+ times minimum. So
Wow. Well, dang, man, I need to, maybe my branding needs to change, need to go with the eyelashes. I have no hair on my head, so at least I've got some on my eyes,
That's so great.
apparently.
Steve, just so
So
you know,
great.
I will never let that die, and I will bring that up over and over again about your eyelashes. It's game way to
Yeah.
bring it back.
we're
The-
not letting
the-
that slide.
I love
Doesn't
it.
matter though. I could have edited out of the podcast and that would be awesome, but it will never be forgotten by Drew. So I'll be living with that for a while.
I love it. I love it. Well, guys, let's kind of jump in. Braxton, for people who don't know you yet, when somebody asks you the question, "Hey, what do you do?" How do you answer that?
Well, it changes through the years, but now I'm finally 100% full time working for my company. I believe in you. So I tell people that we have a innovative bracelet and mobile app company that's all about spreading positivity by using small acts of kindness. And we make bracelets that all say "I believe in you" on them. The purpose of them is that you wear them with the intention to give them away to other people. And we have a mobile app that allows users to document the moment of receiving it and leave a message for the next person. And you basically get to watch your impact travel around the world after you give your bracelet away. And yeah, it's just all about showing the world we're all a lot more alike than we think. And that it only takes 5 seconds and 4 words to change somebody's day and maybe even change their life.
Yeah, that's super cool. And Braxton, the first time we met, I got to hear you share some of the backstory, like what inspired you to do this. And it's a story that goes back, right, to, I think, high school football playing days, right?
Yes.
So I would love for you to share that because I think there was this moment when that first person kind of looked you in the eye and told you that he believed in you and it had a huge impact on you. So I'd love for you to share that because it's really cool.
Yeah. So I grew up in a small town in Texas called May. There's like, maybe 200 people that live there. My whole family lives on one farm. It's a real small place, but it's my favorite place in the world. And yeah, it was kind of one of those towns where you, when you graduate high school, you're going to work on a farm or in the factories or maybe go to the oil field. Or maybe you're one of the lucky people that makes it to the NFL or the MLB. Something like that, right? So I made that decision pretty quickly. I've seen family in factories and family on the oil field, and I've done enough farming to know that that's not what I want to spend all my time doing. So I clung to the sport, and it was going really well. I mean, it was one of the funnest parts of my life, and I think it shaped me so much. But my senior year of high school, first playoff game, everything was on track, and within the first 60 seconds of the game, I get my leg just folded in the opposite direction it's supposed to fold.
Wow.
Basically from there, that kind of changed the direction a little bit and lost lost some scholarships, but thankfully there was still a school that decided they would still pay for my school, my scholarship, and my rehab, my surgery. And
Wow.
I was like, all right, that's where I'm going. And I went up there to play, and it was great. I got back to about where I was in high school after the recovery, and it was good, but I was still kind of, limping off the field every day after practice, and everybody else would leave and go back to the dorms, and I was ice bath and stem treatment and all that stuff every day. Towards the end of that first season while I was there, the strength and conditioning coach, it was a woman. By the way, the school that I went to was, I tell people for reference, it was a little bit like the longest yard. It's basically the school where it's a D2 school. All of the D1 players that get in trouble or arrested or have any sort of problems, they just ship them off to where I went.
Is that the Hard Knocks school, basically? The one that, or there was
It's
like
a
a
regular
Netflix.
college. It's called West Texas A&M. I was maybe going to leave it out, but that's kind of what it was when I was there, a little bit like longest yard. Anyway, so if you can imagine being a woman strength and conditioning coach at that school, you got to be pretty tough.
That's a tough woman.
Thankfully, I was from somewhere where, if I just said yes or no without sir or ma'am at the end of it, I was getting a hand raised at me. That lady really appreciated me. It was towards the end of the season. She just came up to me one day after practice, and she's like, Braxton, I know why you're here. You're one of my favorite athletes I've ever coached. Like, I know what you want, what everybody else here wants. She's like, but I just feel like I have to tell you that I think you were meant for something bigger than this, and to long story short, that she pretty much was telling me, like, I think you should do something different. And she said, yeah, I imagine you want to run around the yard with your kids and those kind of things. And at the time I was like, well, thanks, but no thanks. Like, this is my identity. Like, I don't have another plan. I put all my eggs in this basket. And so I went on, but the whole rest of that season, the only thing I was thinking about was that every day when I got done with practice and had to go sit in the training room. And so when that season ended, I went in there to her and I told her, I was like, look, you guys are paying for my school. I was like, so if I stop playing football, like, I got to leave the school too. And that's what I'm going to do. Like, I don't know what you see or what that means, but I'm going to do it. And so I dropped out and went back home and worked on the farm and was building houses with my dad. And then I finally went and got a job in the oil field, which is not really what I wanted, but I was roughnecking in the middle of nowhere, Texas, and finally was making a little bit of money. And basically I decided from there that it was time to go back to school. I was making a little money. So I was like, all right, there was at least opportunity, and pretty girls can't be doing this. At work, I was in the middle of nowhere, and at home, I was in the middle of nowhere, and that wasn't working for young Braxton. I ended up going back to school. I was in school for about 2 semesters, but while I was there, I started a clothing company that's called Vision. And basically the whole premise of it was basically my life at the time, which was I wanted to share the message of defining your own version of success, and whatever it is you love, go get it. And that was kind of the mission of the clothing. And because of the mission behind it, I started getting asked to speak at like middle schools and high schools and graduations and things like that. And basically, fast forward a little bit, I'd maybe spoke at about 10 schools. And I had a principal call me about 24 hours before I was supposed to speak at this middle school. And she told me, she said, hey, Braxton, we're so excited that you're coming tomorrow, but I wanted to, let you know what some of these kids are going through, not only at school, but at home, just so you really know who you're talking to. And so I said, yes, ma'am. And she spent the next 10 minutes just delivering some of the most heartbreaking information I had heard at that point in my life. And I went through some things growing up, but it was just heavy. And so I said, yes, ma'am, I'll see you tomorrow. And I hung up, and I was with my best friend at the time. And I was like, I'm not qualified. I don't have the answers to any of that. And I sure as hell wrote the wrong speech. And I just told her I'm going to be there tomorrow. I said yes, even after she warned me.
That's amazing.
I said yes. And so because of that, I frantically rewrote a whole new speech. And I had a label printer for my clothing company. And I decided to print out these little stickers that said, I believe in you. And so I showed up at the school. The staff handed out the stickers. There was like 12 or 1,300 kids. The staff handed out the stickers to everybody. And at the end of the speech, I just told them, I said, hey, that sticker that I gave you is not yours. You can trade with the person next to you, go give it to somebody in the hallway, give it to your favorite teacher, or go home, give it to your mom, your dad, your brother, your cousin, give it to your neighbor or the mailman. I don't care, but just find somebody to take that message I gave you today and go give it to them. I left. And honestly, it was like, okay, nobody asked me anything too crazy. People clapped. I think it went okay. Like, all right. But a couple days later, the principal calls me back and she's like, Braxton, these kids ran with those stickers. Like, they're being nicer to each other in the hallway, nicer to our staff. They're making new friends with kids they've been going to school with their whole life. And she said they had dozens of parents call saying the kids came home wanting to have a conversation, or that they asked the parent, if can you give a sticker to this person that they know, and all these stories that she was telling me. And at first I was like, really? You know, with those ugly ass stickers that I gave them? Like, they weren't even good stickers. And a sticker's not even something you're supposed to share. You're supposed to stick it on something. But after she told me that and I got off the phone, I was like, I should do that at all the schools for all the kids. And it just compounded into the thing that I talked about earlier, is like, man, people need people. And this is not just a thing for kids. It takes 5 seconds and 4 words to make an impact on somebody. And so that's where the idea for the bracelets came in. And I can go deeper into the story, but the story is a bit long, so I can pause there for a second if we want to. But that's how I Believe in You first was kicked off.
Yeah, I think it's such a powerful story when I heard it the first time. And the theme that I think, there's a couple of themes there that I think are amazing. One of which I think a lot of founders who are listening can relate to. One is that somebody's spoke into your life and said that they saw something bigger in you. They called out something that you didn't see in yourself, and it made a difference because, like you said, every day after football practice you were thinking about it. So someone speaking into your life like that just shows the power of just encouragement and a few words and how that can change somebody's life. And then the other thing you said when you realized what you were going to be speaking to in terms of that school was, I'm not good enough, right? I can't do this. I'm not the right guy. And so I know I've had that. I have that feeling all the time when I think about running a company. I'm like, this is bigger than I can handle, right? And so I know imposter syndrome is a real deal, right? So I think this whole story can be encouraging for so many ways, but especially because I know those are 2 big deals for all of us. We need people to be speaking encouragement into our lives, and we need people to help us realize that, yeah, we are good enough. We can do this, right? So I think that's really powerful. Yeah. So I think about, I know a little bit more about the journey. I know you're going to share more, but, essentially you've gone from small town roots, like you shared, to now interacting with some of the highest level connections that exist out there in the business world. So I'm guessing that in addition to those key moments you just shared, there might be some key moments or intersections, relationships that have gotten you to where you are. Is there any of those or any people that come to mind that you're like, man, I wouldn't be here if that didn't happen, or this person didn't do what they did to get you to where you are today?
Yeah, for sure. And that's a great question. I mean, all the way down to like my family, like, even though I was like, I'm going to drop out of college and sell t-shirts, like, this wasn't back when, like, now people know that, like, oh, there's, freaking 15-year-old kids making millions of dollars
On YouTube and
my
stuff
whole
like
town.
that.
It's like, he dropped out of school and he's doing t-shirts, very questionable. Then my next move was bracelets, and they're like, it's the same thing. And so, but my parents, my best friends, like, they were all there rooting for me and believing in me. So I think from there, my parents always believing in me was huge. My friends, my friends they might as well have came up with this concept too. They helped me with all the ideas and everything, and believed in it and saw that it could be possible. So that was super helpful. And from that moment forward, because that was still when, like, I didn't know anybody. I really didn't know anybody. Realized, like, how important, like, relationship capital was. Like, everything that kind of moved the needle forward for me was from the people that I know, and led me to, like, now what I tell people today. I'm like, the coolest thing about me is the people that I know. That's what I say all the time. And so It's honestly unbelievable, you know, from where I'm from to where I'm at now. Like, if there's somebody that somebody wants to get connected to, there's somebody in my phone that I can find that knows them, you know?
Yeah.
And so I credit, honestly, pretty much like every bit of our success has just been from connections and people that believe in me and believe in what we're doing and have connected dots for me all along the way.
I
Dude,
love
that's so
that.
powerful.
And the reason I love that is, and I've said this a couple of different times, even on this, I've got 3 boys, Braxton, and they are 17, 14, and 12. And the one concept, I've got an older one who is like, Dad, I want to be an entrepreneur. And one of the things that I tell them over and over again is I say relationships are more important than accomplishments. And if you can figure out how to get those relationships, not so you can use them as a means to an end, but the relationships are the gold. That is the point. And, you know, everything that I just heard you say is just the value of relationships. And again, not so you can use them, but so that it can enhance the journey, enhance the experience, because the relationships is what makes the experience what it is. And I love that because that is exactly what you just were talking about as the center of where it is you are today and where you want to go in the future. So, you know, that is, I love that. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you.
It's
Yeah,
cool.
it's so important, man. And we'll get into this in a little bit, but like I'm very big on the concept of serving, not selling. Now, if what I'm selling serves you, then let's do it. But
Bonus.
within that, even those relationships, you know, like I've got people that now I'm kind of pulling the lever now, but I met them 7, 8 years ago, and there was some value they could have brought me then, but I knew what I wanted to do with IBIY, and I said, no, no, I'll call you when I get where I need to be, and I'll use that then. You know, within all these relationships too, like I show up to calls all the time with people that don't buy from me, but I still ask. I won't let them get off the call without me saying, like, well, how can I serve you? Like, is there a connection you need? Is there a resource you need? Like, how could I give you something? I get referrals like no other because it's something I have saved on my desktop or somebody I can just send a 2-second voice note to. And now they want to introduce 5 other people to me that are going to pay me a bunch of money. It's like, that's not why you do it, but giving gives back, you know?
Yeah, that's good.
So good.
Yeah, that I mean the currency of relationship is the most valuable currency there is, and yet it's to hear you give credit to where you are today because of people who poured into you and people you connected with is a message we all need to be reminded of. We never get where, no matter where we are, we never get there without the help of other people. And sadly, in my career, I've worked with successful founders who forgot that. And it's, you don't want to forget that, man. So yeah, Drew, thanks for bringing that up. That's
Yeah.
good stuff, man.
So
Um,
good.
so Braxton, I feel like, you went into this thing, I don't feel like you ever had the mentality of playing small ball. Like, I feel like you knew this was going to be big from the beginning. I've always sensed that in you. Where did that come from? Is that just inherent in who you are, or was that something that developed just through your life experience?
I have 2 thoughts when you ask that. One is, you know, I think there's a moment in everybody's life when you're young to where, you know, to some level, in a good way, you're naive and you think the world's an awesome place. Everything's awesome. Everything is great. Everybody's great. And whatever age it is, I think it's different for people. You then start to realize like that sucks, or why not like that, or
True.
you know, why with the family on a Saturday morning for breakfast is everybody, you know, kind of in a good mood, and then on Monday for breakfast everybody's kind of like, you don't get that as a kid. You're like, well, what's the difference in the day? You know, you don't know as much about the world, you know, but I got to experience a perspective on life at a pretty young age of some hard things, and maybe I was just aware from my parents raising me, but I remember being pretty young and just being like, well, you know, the people with all the money, why are they not helping those people? Or this guy has this, but why is he doing it? How can he be unhappy with it? I just started like seeing all of these things. And so, to some sense, like with the way that I was raised and just the way that my life was, I remember being really young and like telling my mom, like, I want to change the world. Like, I want to do something. I didn't even know what the heck I was talking about, but I just knew I like wanted to help. I did not understand why the people with all the money and the control or the leadership or the access or the reach weren't doing something. That just didn't make any sense to me. So I think part of it was that. But, with IBIY specifically, those kids running with those ugly little stickers and taking something that really could have made this much impact and doing what they did with it, and I think it's a God thing. Like almost instantly, it was like given to me. I remember specifically in my hard hat and my full freaking FR suit on the bull rig. One day we were drilling and there was nothing to do. So I was pressure washing the rig because you can't do nothing. And I had my headphones in, and it was literally like I saw the future of IBIY like 10 years down the road. And it was just like it had already happened. And I was in the middle of, I was in the worst place ever. It was terrible there. I hated it. I won't go into that, but it was not where I wanted to be. But to some sense, I feel like I'm just blessed to be a part of this thing that was like given to me. I'm just lucky to be able to kind of steer the ship, you know?
I wanted to double click on something you said earlier. You're talking about um, at certain times in your life, you're idealistic, especially when you're younger. I'm going to go out and grab the world by the tail and
Yeah.
yank it down. And then something happens to us. Life happens, challenges, problems, or maybe we were raised on this side of the track or that side of the track, or we were handed a deck of cards that we didn't ask for. I didn't check the box off for these things in my life. They were handed to me, right? And you can see people going in a couple of different directions. You see people who go and make something great of their lives in spite of all of those things. But then you got other people who become jaded and cynical and, they start to view life a particular way. What was it in your life that pointed you in the direction of going, I'm going to be this in spite of all that life has handed me. I'm going to become this kind of person regardless of the cards I was handed. And I'm sure you've had plenty of opportunities to be cynical, to be jaded, to be all the things, especially when you get hurt trying to go after your dreams. Like I can only imagine that dream shattered for you. And some people double down on that and just get angry and upset. What kept you from going in that direction?
Yeah. That's such a great question, Drew. I mean, everything comes in waves, right? Even the person that has the most delusional self-belief, it's still the doubt creeps in, it's a daily thing. But I didn't get into this part of the story, but like I'll put it this way. Well, my parents were divorced when I was 1, so I had kind of some different step parents and step siblings throughout some different chapters of my life. Well, I'll put it to you this way. For one, I had some people that didn't believe in me for sure, and I had a chip on my shoulder, and I was determined, like, to prove them wrong.
Sure.
So a lot of my drive in the beginning was like a little bit of an "fu," prove my point kind of thing. One thing that's funny is, so I was a running back. I was not the fastest, and at the beginning, I wasn't the strongest either. Like I really just didn't have all the cards that were probably required. And I drove from where I lived to a school about 20 minutes away. And my sophomore year of high school, I moved to another school that was about 30 minutes away, but those towns touch. Well, I'd never played running back before, but I was determined that I was going to be a running back. And when I went from the school that I was at to the new school, I showed up and they said, "What position you play?" And I told them I've been playing running back my whole life. And I was not. So I had some people that didn't believe me. I had a big chip on my shoulder for sure. But, I think I obviously figured out that negativity could be used for fuel, the disbelief. But I think especially after the sports, and I just always believed in being good. Like I also realized that like the people that believed in me also provided fuel for the gas tank, for lack of a better term. But whenever I realized that it was like, if you don't believe in me, that puts gas in my tank. And if you do believe in me, it puts gas in my tank. I mean, I'm on the
You're
same.
getting
Either way,
gas
we're
either way,
going.
man. You're getting gas either way.
Yeah. So like I'm
Yeah.
headed the same direction. So I think,
That's great.
I kind of learned that, but I just had good people around me, and my parents raised me the right way. It's funny. I have a bunch of tattoos, but my first one was on my ribs. And I sat in the tattoo shop for like an hour. I don't know why, but I just wanted one. I really like art. I just wanted one. I didn't even know what I wanted, but I wanted one. And I just sat there in the shop thinking over and over and over, like, what am I going to get? And I just found these two quotes that I really liked, and I put them together, and I was like, this would be cool. Put it on there, which is crazy now because it's so aligned with who I am today and everything that I'm doing. But I got the tattoo that it's two different quotes put together, and it says, let him who desires peace prepare for war. It's the first quote, and leads directly into to have a heart that never hardens, a temper that never tires, and a touch that never hurts. And we could go deep into all the meanings of that, but to be honest, I kind of just liked it. Felt like it was something I believed in and just got it. And I think every day since then, it's like become more and more and more like almost the mantra to my life. And I just decided that if I'm going to live my life with purpose, like I have to take the risks to do the things that I don't know. Again, maybe it's a God thing, but when I was like 8, I thought I was going to change the world. And so when football went away, I was like, and then the strength and conditioning coach tells me I'm made for something bigger. Thank God I had people that were calling it out of me, because then at some point I stepped into it and I'm like, damn right, you are right.
Yeah.
I might not know exactly what that is. And I still think I'm finding it every day, but I think those things like really kind of all mesh together into the mindset, I guess, that's like really carries my actions.
So great.
That's great. Drew, you were probably thinking it was some time you spent with Matt Foley, the motivational speaker.
Steve, that's where my head went earlier too.
Gonna
Grab the world and wrap it around and put it in my pocket.
That's literally where my head went. And I was like, oh, crap. I'm quoting an SNL skit over
I
here.
can't see too good. Is that Bill Shakespeare over there?
I love it.
Dude, that's awesome, man. I love that because, and there's a lot that's wrapped in there. But here's what I want you to do, Braxton. I want you to walk us into that gym in 2017. Okay.
Okay.
You're standing in front of how many middle school students were there in that gym that day?
Like 1,300 kids.
Okay. 12 to 1,300 kids. What was going on in that head of yours as you walked up? Because we know now the backstory, what happened the night before, the phone call, the frantic, all the things. You stand up. What's going through your head, man?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I think, I had the right intention with the first speech. I don't think that it was bad, but it was more like, I mean, I was lifting weights and playing football like that. I was like really going to go in there and be like, hard work pays off, like never give up. Use your negativity, use the positivity, like you can freaking, do anything. But when they flipped that script, I think when she really kind of changed my perspective, it put me into a different lens of me remembering some of the things that I went through, what my friends went through. And it was way heavier. And not only was it rushed and frantic and I was nervous, I'd only maybe spoke at like 10 schools anyway. I wasn't any good at it. I still said all the time, and I didn't have everything memorized, But I showed up and I was supposed to have my girlfriend at the time and my best friend and a few people that were coming with me. Well, through all the things, nobody was able to come. So now it's just me in a room full of all strangers, with now a bomb being dropped on me that this is way more important than maybe I was picturing it to be. So I walk in there, and truthfully, for me, with where I grew up, I learned how to work, and I was like, I got paid for this. This was work. And I said, yes, ma'am, and showed up. So it was time to work. And because I wrote it last minute, by the way, to give some visual here, it was in a red notebook that I wrote the speech. I wrote it the night before, so I certainly didn't have time to memorize it. And they only had a hand mic.
Great.
So I'm turning pages in a notebook with a microphone in a gym. So I'm having to like turn in all directions to talk to these kids. And so I was nervous, but thankfully she changed my perspective enough to know how important it was, that I think that almost allowed like the sports side or the work side or whatever to just be like, you can't mess this up, like lock in. So I just knew the words I wrote, I believed in. So I just read the words and tried to be present as well. And to be honest, I just read the lines. Like I just was like, just read it Just get through it and hope that people clap. And thankfully they did. And the teachers were smiling because I really wasn't certain. Because I now when I speak, I think I'm seeing people's responses. Like, I don't know that I even saw anyone's face. Like, I was just like, hope this works. So it was a little bit nerve wracking, but it turned out.
Amazing. So you hand out stickers that day. That inspiration comes the night before. You get them made, you hand them out. Tell me how you go from stickers to we're going to track kindness around the world.
Yeah. That's honestly, Drew, like the perfect segue because I think about where I ended was I started getting asked to speak in schools, spoke in this school. I told you guys the story from here. And from the moment that the teacher had like called me back and told me these stories, I told you, I was like, man, I should do this in all the schools. And that kind of idea started rolling. And I thought, not just schools. So it started to get bigger from there. And honestly, probably every day after, it was just like another reason, another part of this thing kept building enough to where, like I said, I had that company vision. When I left, I knew that they can't be on those ugly stickers. I knew that immediately. But I thought, okay, well, I'll just make a bracelet of my company vision that says I believe in you and we'll sell it and that'll be nice and people give them away. But the more stories that came in and the more that I thought about it, I was like, this is bigger than that. This needs to be like its own thing because it's going to dilute it if it's blended into all these other things. So once I decided it needed to be its own thing, that's, I also grew up in a, pretty country town. I was like making my own clothes and stuff when I was younger just because I wanted to look different than everybody else because I always felt different, which I didn't go into all of that. But I started a fashion company. I grew up on a farm from football to fashion, I guess. So because of that, I was like, all right. I was like, well, whatever we make, it needs to be cool. Something people actually want. It can't be this like cheesy thing, And I knew a bunch of like kindness companies that I thought were cool, but it's kind of like, it's good what you're doing, but like, I'm not going to wear that or I wouldn't rock that every day. So I was like, this needs to be something really intentional that people actually want to wear, want to be a part of. And so the bracelets idea started there, but then as we made those bracelets and we started to give them away, so it went from this, the student stories and like their parents into now we made these other bracelets. When we shipped out the first round of those, within the first few weeks, the stories that I was getting from people were ranging from somebody's day being made a little bit brighter to somebody rekindling a relationship to nice interactions with the cashier or the person giving you your food, all the way to people not taking their own life because somebody
Wow.
gave them a piece of plastic.
Wow.
Now, yet again, I'm getting overwhelmed just as when the principal was telling me these stories. Now I have these people emailing me, DMing me, texting me, all these things of all this stuff that like I don't have the answer to. I found a way to facilitate and spark something, which was great, but I didn't have the answer. But I was also still really like blown away of like the ugly little sticker and the little piece of plastic resulted in all of these stories. And when that happened, I was like, people need to know that it only takes 5 seconds. People need to know that saying hello or good morning or opening like those little things matter. And so as all these stories are coming in, I was like, there's got to be a way to show everybody else. I can't be the only one that gets to witness the true science behind kindness. And it went through a long line of ideas, but the mobile app is where we landed is on what if we created something that when they shared it, they could tell their story and leave a message for the next person. And that's when everything changed.
So, Braxton, obviously, you're moving beyond where you're creating something that you can't control anymore, right? Which is actually really exciting, kind of the whole point. So, are there any like details or stories that come to mind that you would just say this was the first like no way this is real, I can't believe this actually happened story that came back to you from someone that got a bracelet?
Somebody asked me this earlier today, even on a call. I could literally probably put my hand in a hat and pick a story out, and it would be one worth being on a podcast. But you know, as much as the people that started a new business or left the job or left a relationship or fixed a relationship or just made somebody's day better are just as amazing as everything else, it's real hard to have anything that tops the stories that if that moment didn't happen, somebody wouldn't be here. And there's a lot of those. I mean, this is maybe a little bit morbid, but this has been around for a little while, even though we're about to have kind of our coming out party here. I mean, I know a dozen plus people that are buried with these bracelets on because it meant that much to them that their family made sure they had that with them.
Hmm.
And, you know, the people that have the stories where they stayed another day because somebody gave them a bracelet, those are really the ones. And I can give like the short version of this story. One of my business partners, he came into the business probably, 6 or 7 years later, which I left this piece out. Basically, I launched it. This thing blew up. Stories are all around the world. I was on different TV shows. I got interviewed with NFL Network. Always thought I'd be hitting people with the ball, not all about bracelets. It was really awesome, but it got so that I didn't know, I didn't have resources, money. I wasn't a business person. I ended up putting it on pause because people were trying to buy it from me and change the vision. Put it on pause, started a bunch of other things, trying to make money, figured it out. I just left my marketing and production agency and now I do this full time. There's a long kind of storyline between all of this. But once I brought that, figured I'll just tie that back in case we don't get there to where we are now. I brought on a business partner. He has a story. This is probably like 2 years ago. He went back to his hometown, and everybody has this chapter. You go back to your hometown, you want to see your family, but you're not real interested in running into people at the store or hanging out with all your old buddies that never left. Like sometimes you want to see your family and get back to what you're doing. And one of my partners had a buddy of his that when he went home was like, "Hey man, let's hang out. Hey man, let's hang out." And he tells his story now. He's like, "I really just kind of was like, I just want to relax my family and leave. I'm not trying to go hang out with, the people from my past and that thing." Ultimately though, he ended up finally being like, "All right, man, like I'm on my way over here. I'll swing by for a minute." He swings by and they hang out and it's pretty normal. But the guy had asked him what he'd been up to, and he's like, "Hey, I actually just, you know, became a partner in this company. It's called I Believe in You." And he had a bracelet on him, and he was like, "Hey, here, man, like take it. That's what they're for. You can have it." It wasn't even like a deep moment. He wasn't even trying to do something. He didn't know anything was going on. And he handed it to him, and the guy goes, "No way." He's like, what do you mean, no way?" He's like, "No, no." And my partner's name is Joey. He's like, "It's yours, man. Like, I just wanted you to have it." Well, the guy ends up opening up and he's like, "Man, for the last couple months, I've been feeling like, I don't want to be here anymore. And over the last couple days, I've felt that way enough that like I've already figured out how I'm gonna do it. And when you gave me that just now, like you don't believe in me. Like you don't actually, do you? Like you're just you're giving me this because it's your thing. Like you don't actually mean that." And he's like, "No, I do mean that. Like, what do you mean?" And anyway, it's this whole conversation that they had, but that guy was thinking about not showing up for tomorrow.
Mhm.
And even without my partner really putting a whole bunch of intention into it, that little moment of truth that he really did believe in that kid and even just gave him that little micro moment of opportunity to say something that I imagine he hasn't said to anyone. He felt that he had the space and the opportunity because of that moment to let somebody else know. And now that guy's still here.
Hmm.
And I think like that's regardless of if everything's shut down tomorrow and we never got to impact
Yeah,
anybody else, is like worth it.
that's cool.
Heck yeah, man. Dang, Craig, great question. It's like, where do you go after that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it goes
Yeah.
a little deep.
Yeah, yeah.
Woo! Yeah, that's real. I mean, that's real life, man.
It is real.
So, but Braxton, it's a little bit of a hard shift, but I'm
Let's do it.
thinking one of the things that is standing out in all of this, right, is that when we think about what you're selling, and let's just put it in that context, because you are out there selling now, I Believe in You, and we, Alteza, are actually a customer. We've got a bunch of bracelets coming our way that we're really excited to put to use. There it
There it
is.
is.
Yes, sir. Love it. Cannot wait.
We're going to get the Alteza side out.
There you go, baby. Love it. So what you're selling is about belief. It's about behavior change. It's about a different mindset, right? You're not, even though there's software that's part of the package, that's not what you're selling, man. You're selling life change here is what you're selling. So I think this is really relevant to our audience because a lot of people are listening to us because it's a somewhat of a sales podcast, but not really. But what have you learned about how to sell something so intangible like that? And you talked earlier about serving is selling or selling is serving, which is absolutely one of our values too. But I know you well enough to know that you're a brilliant salesperson without coming across that way. So you've got the chops it takes to sell something so intangible, but I'd love for you to share what you've learned about that, how you do that. What does that look like for you?
Yeah. Yeah. So what you're referencing back to is my little philosophy of serving, not selling.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I'm selling serves you, then great, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll tell you this, I've been full-time IBIY now for a little less than a year. This is the easiest thing I've ever sold in my life. I've sold things that are way harder, man. The good thing with this, and again, I feel so blessed, like I just get to be a part of this thing, but I believe in you means something different to everybody you say it to, depending on the person, both of the people, the situation, the timing in life. So this is really like something that you don't have to sell it. You just position the opportunity to be a part of it. And if you're in, let's go. And if not, we still want to serve you. So,
Mm-hmm.
With that, I've learned a lot about the human design and what really gets people to want to be a part of something for sure. And that's story and that's connection. And I'm a big believer that people buy from people, it's,
Yep.
as much as it's great to have a really nicely packaged price structure, offer framework, funnel, VSL, if you actually create something that delivers and serves people and gets people results, you don't really have to sell. At one point within my agency, we had like between like 40 to 50 appointment setters at one time.
Uh-huh.
And some of the kids that were working with us were literally high school students.
Hmm.
One of our best employees that we ever had was like a girl who was in like 10th or 11th grade in like Spain somewhere. She didn't have sales experience or anything else, but she had a really high level of conviction that what we were selling served the hell out of people. And she would just tell them the stories of other people. They'd ask questions. She's like, hey, look, honestly, I don't even know. I don't know the
Yeah.
answer to that. But what I do know is that Miss Becky and Tim and John, they did this. And you're right there. That's what you're talking about. I think it's at least worth, you know what I mean? So I think like having a high level of conviction, like if you're going to sell something, knowing that it really actually serves people is the main key to that. But I really think that's what it comes down to is the intention behind it. It's not to check a box.
That's good.
If you're there to actually serve
good.
people, you're going to get something out of every call.
Yep.
That's good.
Yeah. I mean,
Love that.
if we were in church, you'd get an amen on that one for sure. For sure.
We're on Whiskey for Closers, so
That's
We're
right.
in sales
good.
church, so you get an amen from me.
Sales church, baby. Yeah, that's so in alignment with how we feel about it. And I think it's one of the things I think that is what you talked about that I think is it's a very nuancy thing. And that is really when you believe in what you do and you believe that it's helping people, but then you also have this posture of, hey, we'd love to help you, but we don't. If it's not a good fit, we're okay not helping you. Maybe we'll find a different way to help you. Like you kind of separate yourself from the conquest of the sale, right? But then in doing that, you actually most of the time end up with that sale, right? Because people are drawn to that because they don't feel like you're manipulating them or trying to trick them, or it's just the best way to do it. And it's an art form that a lot of salespeople and certainly a lot of founders don't have. So thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. So on the business side of things, what did you, when you think about where you are now and what it took to get there, was there one thing that comes to mind that you underestimated when it comes to going from scrappy startup to scaling business like you are right now?
a lot of thoughts that come to my mind when you say that. Yeah, I mean, For one, I just like jumped into this as if I knew what I was doing and certainly didn't, which I think is most entrepreneurs. I think I've underestimated a lot of things in a good way and a bad way, right? Like I underestimated the amount of work it was actually going to be, which, I'm happy to do most of the time. But at the same time too, like certain things that like if you just be a good person, it's also not that hard. You know, I don't want to stray away from your question, but one thing that I was thinking about within the last question that you had asked me, sometimes when people ask me for advice and stuff, specifically around sales, I always talk about the serving, not selling thing. But I tell people, I'm like, look, if you're going to take the time for a call, somebody's going to take the time to be on a call with you. A lot of salespeople, as soon as they know that they're disqualified or like they're broke, it's like, alrighty, well, hey, look, it's probably not a great fit. Hey, thank you for
Peace
your
out.
call. Delete the email, they're gone, which, to each his own, move on, I guess, it works for some people. But I tell people, I'm like, if you're doing sales, instead of doing that, you're not going to close everybody anyway. But instead of like, essentially the tactic I would maybe frame this as is like, instead of just like burning the bridge and moving on because you didn't care anyway, still ask if you would just, before you end every call, whether it's a close or not, specifically though, the ones that aren't, say, hey, look, hey, I know this wasn't a good fit today. I appreciate you listening to what I was doing. But before we go, is there anything that you need right now? Anything that you need advice on? Is there a connection that you're looking for, a resource that you're looking for before we jump? Or even just send me an email later if you want to think about this. Let me know what that is. And maybe I have something and maybe I don't. But if I do, it's yours. That little, what it took me 20, 30 seconds to say that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even have to do marketing for my marketing agency because I said that on 1,000 calls in a row.
Game
And
changer.
they would go introduce me to their cousin, to their ex-boss, they were so willing, just even because I asked. Not even because, I don't even know if it was because of the thing I gave them. Just because I asked, they were like, how can I help you? And they were trying to like
Wow.
10x what I did for them. And I'm not telling people to go be nice, but to get something, right? I talked about earlier, like giving gives back. I don't give because I know it gives back. It just
Yeah.
happens to be the law of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not,
It's
it's not something you can manipulate. It's got to be
Yes.
real.
It's just showing up to serve, showing up with the intention. If you say you do that, then you should be able to ask that question. And when you do, I'll say that has served me so much more than I maybe even deserve just by asking how I can serve, even if I'm not getting something right now in return. I think if more salespeople did that, their close rates and their referral rates will go through the roof.
That's a takeaway that is more valuable than so many sales training courses that people pay lots of money for. So you're absolutely right.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, this power of belief. Like when you authentically, truly believe in what it is you're a part of, but even in just humanity itself. That whether you get into an exchange of services back and forth or a product or whatever it is, if you can make somebody feel like that you believe in them, they'll run through walls, they will go above and beyond. There are things that happen that you're like, I didn't even see that coming, all because there's this deep-seated belief about I'm doing good in the world, fill in the blank with whatever that is. Part of a little bit of context on me, I did 6 years of school assemblies where I'd go in and speak, and I did these kind of things. And I know that, like, when you're talking about belief, there are moments where you don't believe in yourself. Or there's moments where it's like, is all this true? Is all this, like, real? Like, so here's my question. You're building a company around belief in other people. What would you say to a founder of a company who may have a hard time in believing in themselves?
Drew, you have really good questions, man. I think there's variables to the answer for sure. But I think if they're not believing in themselves, there's something that's at the root of that feeling and that belief. So I'd probably dig a little bit deeper. But I would probably then ask them, if you're a founder, that means that you've got a business. And if you got a business, that means you probably sell something because you got to make some kind of money. I would probably first ask them, like, why? Why did you start this? Why do you sell this? Why should anybody buy from you? And what made you feel called to do that? I'm sure I would extrapolate that answer from them and give them something articulate. But, I think at the end of the day, man, this was in that speech I gave to those middle school kids. There's a whole lead up to this, but I told them, I was like, you have to believe you are before you are. And I have a tattooed on my arm, no risk, no magic. I think, and people talk about having delusional self-belief, like truly, like if you have something that you want, you have a desire, you're reaching for something, just like all the old people in my town are like, he's selling t-shirts. I was ahead of the game, dude. You just didn't see it. But it's like, you have to believe you are before you are. Just even like with the sports stuff, So I think it's really important. If the thing that you're doing really matters to you, we've got to get you on your team. Because if you aren't on your team, it's going to be real hard to do everything else. So I think that's probably the most important thing, Drew, what you asked is like, if you think the thing you're doing is good, then you better believe in yourself enough to show up as the person that needs to deliver that and believe you are before you are, right? And that's how you show up. And also, again, because when you're a founder, dude, I get scared all the time. Every day I get punched in the face with something, but it's like, you gotta have that belief and you gotta be willing to show up and take the risk, because the vision that you have, when I talk about the no risk, no magic, the vision that I have for this thing, to me, in another definition, is magic. But I've looked at the world long enough to know that there is no magic without the risk. So I don't normally do this, but I'm gonna quote a song. Russ, I don't know if you know that, as he's a rapper, he has a lyric that the stumble is a part of the dance. And I was like, this is what we signed up for. Like, that's part of the formula. You don't get to that thing that you're desiring without the stumble, And so I think you just have to realize that, like, it's also okay that you're questioning something. It's okay that you're doubting it. It's okay, but don't let that make you quit and go back to the other thing.
Love it.
Brilliant.
So good, man.
Braxton, you've been so generous with your time. We really appreciate you spending some time with us.
Yes, sir.
Before we wrap, we have one last thing we want to do, but where can people find you? How can they connect with you? How can they get some bracelets?
Yeah, thanks for asking that, Craig. Well, to get some bracelets, unless you do some custom ones like Alteza and the guys here did, we are about to launch. We're sold out right now, but we're about to launch a whole new set of inventory, a brand new mobile app, probably within the next 30 days is the aim at the moment. And you can find us on everything at I Believe in You. So www.ibelieveinyou.io, and all of our socials are ibelieveinyou.io. That's where everything is at. My personal is just at Braxton Kilgo on everything. Yeah, I mean, anybody want to get some bracelets, feel free to go and buy them, but shoot me a DM and I guarantee you'll get a voice note, because that's what I. But
Yes, you will. He is the master of the voice note, baby.
And if anybody listening this long, if you send me a voice note before you buy, I'll send you a discount.
Woo! That's awesome.
Nice.
That's so awesome.
The
Well,
discount
we
code.
end. That's so great. We end every week with a toast. This week, Drew,
Come on.
you were up.
Hell yeah. I'm bringing the noise, gentlemen. I've thought about this one. I'm raising my
Ready.
glass. Braxton, you have built something by starting something that is powerful, and that's belief in people. Before belief in a product, before the belief in a platform or a business model. And somewhere along the way, that belief stopped being just a message and it became a movement. So here is to the founders carrying something bigger than themselves, to believing in others and having the courage to believe in yourself when it's the hardest. Cheers to them.
Cheers.
Love that.
So good, Drew.
Friends. Woo! Drew,
Come on.
we got the
Man.
bottoms it up at the end. We made the perfect timing.
Let's freaking
I'm
go, man.
off just a
Steve, how's the tea, man?
It's cold now.
Well, gentlemen, that is a wrap with our conversation with Braxton Kilgo. We hope, if you're listening to this, you are feeling inspired to go out there and spread some kindness of your own. Don't forget, share this episode with your friends. And if you're feeling extra generous, subscribe, leave us a review. It's like giving us a virtual high five. And remember, belief is contagious. So let's all do our part to spread it around. Until next time, keep pouring it forward. Cheers.